The Victorian government is facing continued criticisms after its shock decision to cancel the 2026 Commonwealth Games, with the opposition demanding answers. Holly Stearns is live in Geelong for us. What's the latest, Holly?
Well, calls are growing today for the Commonwealth Games Minister Jacinta Allen to resign as Australians try to come to terms with the reason why the Commonwealth Games for 2026 were cancelled here in Victoria. Today, opposition leader John Pesutto demanding that she take some form of responsibility and decides to step aside.
Jacinta Allen needs to be removed from Cabinet, whether it's by her own decision to resign or whether it's by way of a dismissal by the Premier, but without any type of responsibility. The Andrews government is saying that this debacle is okay. Well, it's not okay, and Victorians are feeling that now, and not only by the facilities that may well suffer and the communities that will suffer with the Commonwealth Games not proceeding, but our international reputation as well.
Now, there's no doubt about it, Victoria is already crippled by debt and millions of dollars have already been invested into the Games. At the end of the day, it's the taxpayer who has to foot the bill for this, and there has been no clear indication as of yet to how much this is exactly going to cost the taxpayer. Now, Pesutto has demanded that they be more transparent about this and what it is going to cost the taxpayer in future, and has slammed the Andrews government for not being transparent sooner.
And didn't do proper due diligence, didn't have proper cost-benefit analysis and all the proper costings. Remember, that was only a year ago. And we had a budget as recent as 7 weeks ago where they locked in the figures that they'd been talking about, the 2.6 million. Well, it's clear now, given that the federal government in its budget in May, when it had no money allocated for the Victorian Commonwealth Games, that I'm starting to suspect that the Andrews government knew then, if not before, that the Commonwealth Games were not proceeding and kept it from the Victorian people.
Also heard from the CEO of Bollywood.
Now, this decision to scrap the Games has undeniably impacted local communities. I'm here in Geelong and people are devastated by the announcement. It's going to impact the workers here in local Geelong, but not to mention the local sporting communities as well. Alan Climpson, who is the president of the Hockey Association, you could hear the emotion in his voice as he just talked about the devastating blow for his local sporting community.
Probably the biggest disappointment for us as a sport is we miss out on the opportunity to expose our local kids to international competition. They get to see their own heroes, the people that they follow in the paper and on the TV, and they could have actually met them in person. That's probably the thing that we feel is the biggest hurdle for us to get over, is that with the opportunity to grow our sport.
Now, the Andrews government has faced criticism from all angles since the announcement from Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk. She is the most recent to speak out against the Andrews government, saying that responsibility ultimately falls back on the government for this decision. She also took the time to mention how well and successfully her 2018 Com Games went off in Queensland, and says that when it comes to the Olympics Games planning in 2032, they are full steam ahead.
You raised the Andrews government, and let me say this. When we last delivered the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast in 2018, the government delivered that under budget and ahead of schedule. Now, those matters of the Commonwealth Games is a matter for the Andrews government. I feel incredibly sad for the athletes. I mean, this is what the athletes aspire to.
Now, the Queensland Premier there insisting that they are working ahead to the Olympics in 2032 and ensuring everybody that Australia can be relied upon as a sporting nation.